The night exploded into fire and noise. 20 soldiers fired at once, every bullet aimed at the same spot. The Maulhound's damaged eye was now a target that glowed in their night vision scopes. The creature screamed. It spun toward this new attack, but the bullets kept coming. They found the wounds that Bori had opened. They dug into the soft tissue beneath the armor. Black blood sprayed into the air like rain. They soon grabbed Bori and held him close. Hana pulled them both toward the porch. Teho ran ahead to open the door. The sounds of gunfire were deafening, but none of them looked back. The Maulhound tried to charge the soldiers. It made it 3 steps before its front legs collapsed. It tried to get up. Tried again. The damage was too much. The small wounds from the cat, the large wounds from the guns, all of it adding up. Colonel Park Jae-won watched the creature fall. He had fought in many battles. He had never seen anything like this. What brought it down? His lieutenant asked. Jae-won looked at the old man clutching an orange cat on the porch. The cat found its weakness. We just finished the job. On the Velith command ship, silence filled the control room. The Maulhound's life signs had stopped. Their perfect weapon, the creature that had conquered 17 star systems, was dead. Commander Orvith stared at the display. He could not understand what had happened. This was supposed to be easy. 1 Maulhound should have been enough to terrify an entire planet into submission. Prepare another 5 Maulhounds, he ordered. We will deploy them to major cities and, Commander. Taylor's voice was sharp. Look at this. She brought up a new display. It showed transmissions from across the human planet. The fight in Wolpo had been recorded. Someone's phone had captured everything. And now it was spreading. Every news network on Earth was showing the same footage. An orange cat facing down an alien monster. An old man with a kitchen knife standing in front of his pet. Soldiers learning where to aim by watching where the cat had struck. But that was not the worst part. The humans were responding. Millions of them. They were posting pictures of their own cats. They were writing messages of support. They were angry, and they were proud, and they were not afraid. Commander, Taylor said, they have billions of these creatures. Every human with one of these cats will fight exactly like that old man did. Then we deploy more Maulhounds. We have hundreds in storage. Sir, I do not think you understand. Taylor pulled up more data. Earth is home to over 8 billion humans. They keep approximately 600 million cats as companions. They also keep dogs, which are pack-hunting predators, and birds of prey, and snakes. This species surrounds itself with deadly creatures by choice. Orvith was quiet for a long moment. Why would any species do that? I believe it is because they are lonely. They are social animals who form emotional bonds with other species. But the result is that every human home is potentially defended by predators they have known since childhood. They do not just own these creatures. They love them, and they will die for them. The crew waited for their commander's decision. Orvith looked at the footage playing on the display. The old human was crying, holding his injured cat. The young woman was treating its wounds. And across the planet, millions of humans were watching, recognizing themselves in that scene. They would all fight like that. Every single one of them. Set course for the outer system, Orvith finally said. We are leaving. Commander, this planet is not worth the cost. Mark it restricted in our database. No engagement. No contact. Taylor nodded slowly. She understood. The Velith had not been defeated by human weapons or human armies. They had been defeated by a single house cat that refused to run away. In Wolpo, the sun rose over a town that had survived the night. The Maulhound's body was taken away by military scientists who could not believe what they were seeing. The soldiers were given medals. The old man who had stood in front of a monster with a kitchen Knife was called a hero, but Daesung did not feel like a hero. He felt tired and old and grateful. Hana had treated Bori's injuries through the night. The cat had broken ribs and a damaged back leg. He would limp for the rest of his life. But he would live. He should not have survived that, Hana said as she finished wrapping bandages. The blow that threw him against the wall should have killed any normal cat. Bori has never been a normal cat, Daesung replied. A week later, the world learned that the alien ships had left. They were gone, retreating to wherever they had come from. No one understood why. The governments claimed credit. The militaries claimed credit. Everyone had a theory, but Daesung knew the truth. He had seen it in the Mahound's eyes in those final moments. He had seen confusion turn to fear. Not fear of humans. Not fear of guns. Fear of a small orange cat that would not stop fighting. A month after the invasion, a package arrived at Daesung's house. It contained a medal from the Korean government, awarded to Bori for exceptional bravery in the defense of Earth. Hana helped him pin it to a small pillow, and they placed it on Bori's favorite spot on the porch. The cat ignored it completely. He had more important things to do. There was a bird in the yard that needed watching. Years later, historians would study the recordings from the Velith ship. They would find a database entry that had been created in the days after the retreat. It described Earth with a single warning: restricted. Do not engage. The humans have domesticated death itself, and it sleeps on their furniture. On his porch, watching the sunset with Bori on his lap, Daesung sometimes thought about that night. He thought about how close they had come to dying. He thought about the monster that had seemed impossible to stop. And he thought about his cat, broken and bleeding, getting up one more time to protect the human he loved. We showed them something, didn't we? He said to Bori. We showed them what Earth creatures are made of. Bori yawned. He stretched his injured leg carefully and settled back into his favorite position. The sunset painted his orange fur gold. Somewhere out there, among the stars, the Velith were telling stories about the terrible planet called Earth, about the impossible creatures that lived there, about the predators that shared homes with humans and fought beside them without hesitation. They did not understand it. They probably never would, but they soon understood. Humans and cats had found each other 10,000 years ago. They had recognized something in each other: a stubbornness, a refusal to yield, a willingness to fight when running would have been smarter. They were partners. They had always been partners, and together they could face anything, even monsters from the stars. Bori purred softly as the last light faded from the sky. Daesung finished his tea and smiled. Tomorrow there would be more sunsets, more birds to watch, more quiet evenings on the porch. But tonight, they rested. They had earned it. The Mahound moved differently now. Without the neural link controlling its actions, it became what it truly was: a pure killing machine. Its 8 legs spread wide, lowering its body close to the ground. Its damaged eye leaked black fluid, but its good eye burned with hunger. Bori did not back away. He shifted his weight to his back legs, ready to spring in any direction. His torn ear twitched as he tracked every tiny movement of the monster before him. Hana tried to stop Daesung at the door. "Uncle, please. You cannot go out there." "I can," he said. "And I will. Bori has protected me for 12 years. Now it is my turn." Taeho stood frozen by the window. He was watching something he could not understand. An alien predator from another world facing a common house cat. And somehow, the cat was winning. "I think the cat is winning," he said quietly. Daesung nodded as he reached for the door handle. "Bori has never lost a fight in 12 years. I do not think he plans to start now." Outside, the Mahound made its move. It was faster now, more focused. It swept one of its massive legs toward Bori like a blade. The cat jumped. Not away, but up. He landed on the creature's foreleg and ran along its body toward the injured eye. His claws dug into the gaps between armor plates, finding purchase on the rough hide beneath. The Maulhound thrashed wildly. It rolled onto its back, trying to crush the tiny attacker. Bori leaped free at the last second, landing on all 4 feet without a sound. On the Velith ship, the crew watched in horror. Sub-Commander Taylor had gone pale. "The cat is targeting the injured eye," she reported. "It has identified the weak point and is focusing all attacks there." "That is impossible," one of the junior officers said. "Animals cannot strategize like that." "Earth animals can," Taylor replied. "Their entire planet is a war zone. Every creature there is either a weapon or dead." Commander Orvith said nothing. He just watched. Back in Wopo, military reinforcements finally arrived. Colonel Park J1 led a team of 20 soldiers to the edge of the residential area. They had thermal cameras and heavy weapons. They had expected to find a monster killing civilians. Instead, they found a standoff. "What am I looking at?" J1 asked his lieutenant. "Sir, it appears to be a large alien creature and a cat. They have been fighting for over an hour." "A cat?" "Yes, sir. An orange cat. It is holding its ground." J1 lifted his binoculars. He saw the Maulhound, bleeding from a dozen small wounds. He saw the house cat, still hissing, still refusing to retreat. And he saw an old man standing on a porch with a kitchen knife in his hand. "Hold fire," J1 ordered. "We cannot risk hitting the civilians." Or the cat. The Maulhound attacked again. This time, it was smarter. It feinted left, then struck right. The fake-out worked. Its massive paw caught Bori in the side and sent him flying. The cat hit the wall of a nearby house with a sickening thud. He fell to the ground and did not move. Daesun cried out. He ran down the porch steps toward his cat, forgetting the monster, forgetting everything except the small orange body lying still in the shadows. The Maulhound turned toward him. Easy prey. Old. Slow. Weak. Everything it was designed to hunt. Hana screamed her neighbor's name. Teho grabbed a lamp as if it would help. The soldiers raised their weapons, but knew they could not fire in time. Bori opened his eyes. He was hurt. Maybe badly hurt. But he was not dead. And the monster was moving toward his human. The cat pushed himself up. His legs shook. One of his back legs was not working right. But he was standing. He was always standing. He let out a sound that was half growl, half scream. It was a war cry that cats had been using since before humans learned to walk upright. The Maulhound paused. It looked back at the small creature it thought it had killed. The cat was between it and the old human now, bloody, broken, but still fighting. Daesun reached Bori and dropped to his knees beside him. The cat did not look at him. Bori's eyes never left the enemy. "Foolish old friend," Daesun whispered. "We are going to die together, aren't we?" Bori's tail twitched. It might have been agreement. It might have been defiance. With cats, it was always hard to tell that Hana could not watch anymore. She ran outside, ignoring her brother's shouts. She was a veterinarian. If Bori was hurt, she could help. She had to help. The Maulhound saw the young woman running toward the others. More prey. It started to turn toward her. Bori attacked. Even injured, even broken, the cat threw himself at the monster. His claws found the damaged eye again. This time, he dug deep. The Maulhound howled as the cat tore at the soft tissue behind its armor. Black blood sprayed across the street. The creature thrashed so violently that cracks appeared in the pavement beneath its feet. Bori was thrown off again. This time, he landed hard and did not get up right away. Hana reached Daesun and grabbed his arm. "We need to get inside. I am not leaving him. Then we all stay." Tejo appeared beside them, holding the lamp like a weapon. His hands were shaking, but he was there. They were all there. The Mallhound was in pain now. Real pain. Half-blind, bleeding from wounds that should not exist. It turned toward the group of humans huddled together on the street. In its engineered mind, a new priority formed. Kill the cat. Kill it first. Then kill the others. It moved toward them, faster than anything that big should move. Its jaws opened wide, revealing rows of venomous fangs. Daesung stood up. He put himself between the monster and his cat. He raised the kitchen knife, knowing it would do nothing, knowing he was about to die. "Get away from my cat," he said. The Mallhound did not understand the words, but it understood the meaning. This old, weak human was challenging it, just like the cat had. On the Velos ship, Taylor watched with something that might have been admiration. "Commander, look at them. The humans are not running." Orvith was silent. "They are staying to protect the small predator. They know they cannot win, but they are staying anyway. That is illogical." "Perhaps," Taylor said. "Or perhaps that is what makes them dangerous." On the street in Wolpo, the Mallhound prepared to end this. One strike would kill them all. The old man, the young woman, the nervous boy, the broken cat. They would all die together. It gathered itself for the final attack, and behind it, Colonel Park J1 gave an order. "Target the damaged eye. All units, fire." The standoff continued under the pale light of the moon. The Mallhound did not move forward. Worry did not retreat. They watched each other like two statues made of muscle and fur and violence. Ha-Na pulled Daesung back inside the house. The old man was shaking, but not from fear. He was shaking because he understood something that the alien creature outside did not. "Bori is not going to stop," he said. "That cat has never run from anything in his life." Tejo was pressed against the wall, as far from the windows as he could get. "We should call for help. The military must be somewhere nearby." "The radios are dead," Hana said. "Something is jamming them." She looked at her old neighbor. Daesung had spent his life studying marine biology. He knew predators. He knew how they thought, how they hunted, how they survived. If anyone could understand what was happening outside, it was him. "Uncle, what is that thing?" Daesung moved to the window and watched the Mallhound. He watched how it moved, how it hesitated, how its 8 legs shifted nervously on the pavement. "It is a hunter," he said. "Probably engineered. Every part of it is designed to kill. But look at it. Look at how it is behaving." Hana looked. She saw the massive creature glancing around, its head turning from side to side. It looked almost uncomfortable. "It is confused," Daesung said. "Its entire existence is built on one simple truth. Prey runs. Everything smaller than it runs away. But Bori is not running. Bori is standing there like he owns the street. And the creature does not know what to do." On the Velos ship, Tyla had finished her research. Her gray face was troubled as she approached Commander Orvith's station. "I have identified the small predator," she said. "The humans call it a cat. Specifically, a domestic cat." "Domestic?" Orvith frowned. "A pet? Are you telling me our Mallhound was injured by a pet?" "Yes, Commander. But I must share additional information." She pulled up her data on the main display. Earth is classified as a Category 12 death world. This is the highest classification in our database. Orvith waved his hand dismissively. "We knew the planet was dangerous. That is why we sent the Mallhound. The Mallhound was engineered from a creature native to Voltharsis, a Category 7 world." Taylor paused to let that sink in. "Earth is nearly twice as hostile." For the first time, Orvith looked uncertain. Continue. The domestic cat evolved on Earth over millions of years. It is a pure carnivore, meaning it eats only meat. It has retractable claws designed for killing. Its reflexes are faster than almost any creature of comparable size. And its psychology is that of an apex predator. It is the size of my foot, Orvith said flatly. Yes, but on a death world, size matters less than survival instinct. The cat does not run because running was never an option for its ancestors. On Earth, creatures that ran were simply caught by something faster. The survivors were the ones that stood and fought. Taylor brought up another set of data. There is something else. The humans did not domesticate these creatures. The cats chose to live with humans. They are not pets in the way we understand the term. They are partner predators. Orvith stared at the display showing the standoff below. The small orange creature had not moved an inch. It was still hissing at the mallhound, still showing its teeth, still refusing to acknowledge that it should be afraid. The humans, Taylor continued, keep billions of these creatures in their homes. They sleep with them. They feed them. They form emotional bonds with them. I believe this is why the old human has not evacuated. He will not abandon his cat. That is foolish. Perhaps. Or perhaps it shows us something about human nature that we failed to consider. Back in Walpo, the mallhound made its decision. The small predator was clearly a threat. Its programming demanded that threats be eliminated before hunting could continue. It gathered its massive body and prepared to strike. Bori saw the attack coming before it began. He read the tension in the creature's muscles, the shift in its weight, the slight lowering of its head. These were signals that cats had been reading for 60 million years. The mallhound lunged. Bori moved. The alien's jaws snapped shut on empty air. The cat had already twisted aside, his body flowing like water around the attack. He was under the creature now, between its 8 legs. His claws raked across the softer skin of its belly. The mallhound roared. It spun around trying to catch the small orange blur. But Bori was already gone, back in his defensive position, his tail lashing behind him. Hana gasped. Tejo had his hands over his mouth. They had just watched a house cat dodge an attack that should have been impossible to dodge. How is he doing that? Tejo whispered. Reflexes, Daesung said. His voice was filled with wonder and something that might have been pride. A cat's nervous system is one of the fastest on Earth. They can adjust their body position in midair. They can react to movement in fractions of a second. That creature out there might be stronger, but Bori is faster. The mallhound attacked again, and again. Each time, Bori slipped away like smoke. Each time, his claws found another gap in the armor. The cuts were small, but they were adding up. Blood, black and thick, began to drip from the mallhound's wounds. On the command ship, the crew watched in stunned silence. Their perfect weapon, their invincible predator, was being outmaneuvered by an animal that weighed less than 5 kilograms. Cut the neural link, Orvith commanded. Let it operate on pure instinct. The psychological interference is slowing it down. Taylor hesitated. Commander, without the link we cannot control it. If something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. Cut the link. She obeyed. The connection was severed. On the street in Walpo, the mallhound suddenly went still. Its eyes changed, becoming darker, more focused. The calculating intelligence was gone, replaced by something older, something more primal. Bori noticed the change immediately. This was no longer a confused creature trying to understand why its prey was fighting back. This was a predator that had decided to kill, no matter the cost. The real fight was about to begin. Daesung felt it too. The air seemed to grow heavier. The moon seemed to dim. Something had shifted, and not in their favor. Nah, he said quietly. I need you to do something for me. What? If I do not survive tonight, take care of Bori. Promise me. Hana grabbed his arm. Uncle, do not talk like that. But Daesoon was already moving toward the door. His cat was out there alone, facing something that had conquered worlds. He was not going to let Bori die without him. An old man and an old cat. They had faced everything together for 12 years. They would face this together too, even if it was the last thing they ever did. The evacuation buses left Wopo one by one, their lights disappearing down the coastal road. Most of the young families were gone within the first hour. But the old people stayed. They had survived wars and storms and everything in between. They were not going to run from some light in the sky. Daesoon counted at least 20 houses still with lights on. 20 families who refused to leave their homes. Hana returned with her brother Taeho, a university student with messy hair and worried eyes. The three of them sat in Daesung's kitchen and listened to the emergency radio. The reports were confusing. Something had landed in the mountains. The military was moving in. There were sounds of gunfire, then silence. Nobody knew what was happening. Outside, Bori sat on the porch railing. He had not moved in over an hour. His orange fur stood up along his spine. His eyes never left the tree line at the edge of town. The mallhound reached the first houses just before midnight. It moved through the shadows like a ghost, its 8 legs making no sound on the pavement. It could smell the humans inside their homes. It could hear their hearts beating. So much fear. So much delicious fear. A military patrol found it first. 2 soldiers with rifles and flashlights walking the empty streets. They saw the creature emerge from between 2 buildings. For a moment, they could not understand what they were looking at. It was too big. Too wrong. It had too many legs and too many teeth. One soldier raised his rifle and fired. The bullets hit the mallhound's hide and bounced away like pebbles. The creature did not even slow down. The attack was over in seconds. The mallhound killed them both without making a sound. It left their bodies in the street and continued toward the center of town. This was what it was made for. This was its purpose. On the Velith ship, Orvith watched through the neural link and smiled. You see, Taylor? Nothing can stop it. These humans have no chance. Taylor said nothing. She was looking at the bioscan readings. The stress hormones were still elevated, higher now than before. The mallhound was moving toward its prey, but something was bothering it. Something it had not encountered yet. The creature turned down a narrow street lined with old houses. Most were dark, but one had lights in the windows. One had an old man and a young woman and a nervous university student sitting inside. One had a cat on the porch. Bor. I saw the mallhound before anyone else. He jumped down from the railing and walked to the edge of the porch steps. His movements were slow and deliberate. His golden eyes locked onto the massive shape moving through the darkness. The mallhound stopped. It was 50 meters away, barely visible in the shadows, but it could see the cat clearly with its thermal vision. A small, warm body, tiny compared to itself. Easy prey, but the cat was not acting like prey. Bori arched his back. His fur puffed out in all directions, making him look twice his normal size. He pulled his lips back and showed his teeth. A low growl came from deep in his chest, building into a hiss that cut through the quiet night. The mallhound took a step forward, then another. It was curious now. In 10,000 years of genetic memory, passed down through countless generations of engineered killers, no creature had ever done this. Prey ran. That was the rule of the universe. Small things ran from big things. Everything ran from the mallhound. This tiny orange animal was standing its ground inside the house. Taeho looked out the window and felt his blood turn to ice. There is something out there, he whispered. Something big. Hana moved to the window. She saw the shape in the darkness. She saw its eyes reflecting the porch light like two burning coins. Her hand went to her mouth. Bazoom pushed himself up from his chair and walked to the door. His old bones ached, but he had to see. He had to know what Bori was facing. He opened the door and stepped onto the porch. The Mahound was closer now, maybe 30 meters away. Dasung had studied predators his entire life. He knew what a killing machine looked like. This thing was the most perfect killing machine he had ever seen, and his cat was hissing at it. "Bori," Dasung said quietly. "Come inside." Bori did not move. He did not even look back. His entire being was focused on the threat in front of him. This was his territory. This was his human. Nothing was going to take that away from him. The Mahound moved closer. 20 meters now. It could end this with one strike. One jump, and its fangs would tear the little creature apart. But something held it back. Something in its engineer brain could not process what was happening. Bori attacked first. He launched himself from the porch steps like an orange blur. His claws were out. His teeth were bared. He moved faster than the Mahound expected. He moved faster than anything had ever moved in its entire existence. His claws found a gap in the armor, plates near the creature's left eye. They were small claws, not even 3 centimeters long. But they were sharp. They were the claws of a predator that had evolved on one of the deadliest planets in the galaxy. The Mahound felt pain. Real pain. For the first time in its life, something had hurt it. It jerked its massive head back. Bori landed on the ground and immediately took up a defensive position. His fur was still puffed out. His growl was even louder now. On the Velith ship, alarms began to sound. Tayla stared at her display. "Commander, the Mahound has been injured." Orvith looked up sharply. "That is impossible. Its left eye is damaged." Something cut through the armor gap. What something? There are no weapons in that area. Tayla switched the display to the visual feed from the Mahound's remaining good eye. She saw the small orange creature standing in the light of the porch. She saw its teeth and its claws and its golden eyes that held no fear at all. "I believe," she said slowly, "it was the small predator." Orvith looked at the display. He looked at the tiny animal that had just done what no creature in 17 conquered star systems had ever done. "What is that thing?" "Unknown, Commander. I will research." Back in Wopo, the Mahound took a step backward. It did not understand what was happening. It had been hurt by something smaller than its own foot. The pain was minor, but the confusion was overwhelming. Its programming told it to eliminate threats before hunting prey. But this small creature was both threat and prey at the same time. Daesoon watched from the porch, his heart pounding in his old chest. He could not believe what he had just seen. His cat, his 12-year-old Tabby, had just made a monster bleed. "Good boy," he whispered. "Good boy, Bori." The Mahound and the house cat stood facing each other in the darkness. Neither moved, neither backed down. In the strange quiet of that moment, something was decided. This fight was not over. It was just beginning. The stars had always been quiet. Above the small town of Wopo, the fishing boats went out in the morning and came back in the evening. The old people sat on their porches and watched the sea. Nothing ever changed in this little corner of South Korea. That was why Daesung had chosen to retire here 15 years ago. He wanted peace. He wanted to spend his final years watching the waves and caring for his cat. Bori was an orange, Tabby with a torn ear and a personality as big as the ocean. Daesung had found him as a kitten, alone and crying behind a fish market. That was 12 years ago. Since then, the cat had become his closest companion. They understood each other in the way that only old souls can. On the evening, everything changed. Daesung sat on his wooden porch with Boris sleeping on his lap. The summer air was warm and smelled of salt. He was drinking tea and thinking about nothing important when the sky began to glow. At first, he thought it was lightning. But the light was too steady, too bright. It came from above the clouds, spreading across the darkness like spilled paint. Bori opened his eyes and looked up. His ears went flat against his head. Strange, Daesung said quietly. He had seen many things in his 67 years. He had studied the creatures of the deep ocean. He had watched typhoons tear apart villages. But he had never seen anything like this. His phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. Then it would not stop buzzing. Far above the earth, in a ship the size of a mountain, Commander Orvith of the Velith Dominion watched the blue planet on his display screen. He had conquered 17 star systems. He had brought entire civilizations to their knees. This small world would be no different. The humans have refused our terms, Sub-Commander Taylor reported. She stood beside him, her gray skin reflecting the light of the screens. Their unified council sent back a single word: no. Orvith made a sound that might have been laughter. They always refuse at first. They do not understand what is coming. He pressed a command into his console. Deep in the ship, something stirred. The Maulhound was the perfect predator. The Velith had spent 10,000 years creating it. They had taken the deadliest creature from a world they had conquered long ago and made it better, stronger, smarter, more terrifying. It had 8 legs that could move faster than any land animal. Its hide was thick enough to stop energy weapons. Its fangs carried venom that could kill in seconds. It weighed 400 kilograms and stood taller than any human. But its most dangerous feature was its mind. The Maulhound was not just an animal. It was a weapon that could think. One Maulhound had once killed the entire population of a city in a single night. The Velith deployed them when they wanted to send a message: surrender or face something worse than death. Deploy it to the peninsula, Orvith ordered. Let the humans see what they have chosen. The drop pod fell from the ship like a burning star. It crossed the atmosphere in minutes and landed in the mountains outside Wolpo. The trees around the impact site burst into flames, then went quiet. The pod opened. The Maulhound emerged into the darkness. It was hungry. It was always hungry. That hunger had been designed into its very blood. It lifted its massive head and breathed in the night air. So many scents. So much prey. It could smell thousands of humans in the town below. Their fear would come soon. It always did. The creature began to move down the mountain, its 8 legs carrying it through the forest without a sound. In Wolpo, the emergency sirens began to wail. Zing heard the announcement through the town speakers. Everyone was ordered to evacuate immediately. Something dangerous had landed nearby. Military forces were responding. His neighbor, Kim Hana, ran across the street to his house. She was a veterinarian, 32 years old, with steady hands and a calm voice. Right now, that calm voice was shaking. Uncle Daesung, we need to go, she said. They are sending buses to take everyone to the emergency shelters. What about Bori? Daesung asked. Hana's face fell. The shelters do not allow pets. I already asked. Daesung looked down at the cat in his lap. Bori looked back at him with those golden eyes that had watched over him for 12 years. The cat had been there when his wife died. Had been there through the lonely nights and the empty mornings. Daesung had promised himself long ago that he would never abandon this animal. Then I am not going, he said. Uncle, please. They said something fell from the sky. Something alive. I am an old man, Hana. I have lived a good life. But I will not leave my cat to die alone. Hana wanted to argue. She wanted to grab him and drag him to the bus. But she had known Daesung for 10 years. She knew that look in his eyes. He was not going to change his mind. Then I'm staying too, she said. My brother Tejo is at my house. I will bring him here. We stay together. Before Daesoon could protest, she was already running back across the street. On the Vela ship, Taylor watched the Mallhound's progress through its neural link. The creature's view filled her screen. Trees, darkness, the lights of the human, town growing closer. Something was wrong. The Mallhound's stress hormones were elevated. Not by much, just a small amount. But Taylor had monitored hundreds of these creatures. She had never seen this reading during a hunt. Commander, she said, there is something unusual in the bioscan. Orvith did not look up from his own display. The creature is fine. It is probably just adjusting to the atmosphere. Taylor was not so sure. But she said nothing more. In the forest outside Wolpo, the Mallhound stopped moving. It had caught a new scent. Something small. Something that smelled like blood and fur and something else. Something it had never encountered before. A predator. Not a large one. Tiny, actually. The descent was unmistakable. This creature, whatever it was a killer. The Mallhound felt something stir in its ancient, engineered brain. It was not fear. It could not be fear. The Veleth had removed fear from its bloodline thousands of years ago. But it was something close. Something like caution. It continued toward the town, but slower now. More careful. On his porch, Daesoon finished his tea and watched the strange lights fade from the sky. Bori had stopped sleeping. The cat sat up straight, his eyes fixed on the darkness beyond the town. His tail twitched slowly. What do you see, old friend? Daesoon asked. Bori did not answer. He just kept watching, waiting. In 12 years, he had protected this house from dogs, from other cats, from birds and rats and anything else that dared to enter his territory. He had never lost a fight. Whatever was coming down that mountain, Bari was ready for it. He had been ready his whole life.